I'm going to show you something. I'm going to give you my screen, and I'm going to take you somewhere here real quick. So bear with me just as it's loading up. Okay, you're going to be familiar with this website. Okay, familysearch.org. Now, maybe I'm just not smart enough to figure it out, but I can't do what I'm going to show you on a mobile device, but on a tablet, laptop, desktop, it works. Okay, so after you log in, you're going to come up here to the top right corner with that little question mark is. Click on that, go to Helper Resources. You click on Helper Resources, and your name's going to come up, or you can add somebody if you want to do what I'm going to show you for somebody else. But let's just do for me here. I'm going to show you this. It's going to take just a couple of minutes. It's going to get you super excited. You're probably going to stop watching this video and just go do this yourself. It's that thrilling. Okay, but look at all these things that you can select, and everything that the church has done that's on the screen right now is now tied to you when you log in. Right now, you're seeing it tied to me. So we've got some very wonderful people down at the Church History Library that have been called as missionaries, and they're taking all these books and volumes and stuff, vaults of paperwork, saved documents, and they're scanning them to make them searchable for us. And then some smart individual figured out how to connect all those scanned documents and tie them in to your account. In this case, what you're seeing, my account. And so the work that's going on down there at that library is amazing, what they're doing. And it seems like they're just kind of scratching the surface. When the Lord gave the commandment, you can read it in Doctrine and Covenants, to keep a record. And boy, have our faithful members of the church kept a record. Somewhere there's an attic full of boxes of old journals and paperwork and documents, and our missionaries are scanning them as fast as they can and getting them accessible to us. But let me show you here how awesome this is. And since finding this out, my kids, this is how they spend a lot of their Sunday afternoon, is right here on this page. So once you're logged in, you can click on Pioneer Ancestors, and now it comes up with everybody I'm related to that walked across, or didn't necessarily walk across the plains, but came across the plains. This guy, John Staley, he departed at age 13 in 1862. And if I wanted to, which I do want to do, is I can click on Photos and Stories. And then look at this, John Staley. Look at all these pictures. I'm related to this guy. All these pictures come up of my ancestor. And now here's the stories. You want to know, if I want to know the story about it, about this individual, here he is. Let's go to another one here. Look at this guy, William Livingston, departed at age 7. And I think, man, that's awesome. And it took him 86 days to come across, left Mormon Grove, Kansas in July of 1855. And who is William Livingston? Click on relationship, and there he is. Oh, I know, I see my mom, my grandma, my grandpa, it's his dad. So my two great grandpas is who that is. And so there's all your pioneer stories. So if you think you had somebody who came across the plains, or if you know that somebody did come across the plains from your family tree, you hit this red icon, and there it all is. Let me show you, I kind of breezed over it, kind of the thrilling part. Let's see, Rebecca Hill. Okay, I know her relationship. I want to go to her stories. I don't know, if I do, but if I didn't know anything about Rebecca Hood Hill, I can come here, see all of her pictures, but more importantly than that, right here at the top in the middle, it says Memory 63. That means there's 63 documents of information about her. So I can click on that, and here's all the documents where she's either mentioned, or here's their Bible birth and death records. You're going to find her journals. Here's stories either told by her or her children or sisters, or somebody has a story and they uploaded it. So now I can just, I can lay in bed with my iPad and just read 63 documents full of stories about my great-great-grandma. Okay, now you come back here, you can look at the headstones. If any of them were children, you get their stories. Ancestor Challenge is kind of fun. It throws pictures up and it says, who is this? And it gives you multiple choice options and you get to guess your ancestor's name. So you really start to get to know them. If you come down here, you can start to see their temple ordinances, not only that the ordinances were done, but where they were done. What temple were they done in? If you go here, this one I've spent a lot of time in. This is the missionary one. So now it's searching right now for everybody that they've documented. These missionaries down at the Church History Library have documented mission records. And the really smart system here is connecting me to all those scanned documents. So David Hoagland Cannon, he was my great-grandpa. He was called to the British mission at the age of 19. He served from 1912 to 1914. If I wanted to click View Relationships so I know who he is, I could do that. Or I could go to View Missionary. And here's all of his information. There's his set-apart date, his end date, his priesthood office, where he was living when he was called, who he was set apart by. So you can find out that your ancestor was set apart by an apostle, maybe. You come down here to stories and documents, click on those, and you not only get the stories and documents, or not, you don't only get the stories, but you also get to see the documents. And these are the real deal. So, and I've done this, I won't take the time now, but for my grandpa Cannon, great-grandpa Cannon, if clicking this link here in the middle of your screen, it pulls up his mission call, and it says that you're hereby called to serve as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You're called to labor in the British Isles mission. But more important than that to me is his response or his acceptance letter. So his letter goes back to Heber J. Grant, I think was the prophet. And he writes this letter, and I find it just by clicking this button. But the letter pops up, and it's not just what words he said, it's actually his handwriting, the document of his handwriting, signed by him, sent to the prophet. And in it, he says, thank you very much for the call. I'm glad to serve. I want to serve. However, I'm in the middle of my school semester, and if I leave at the date that you want me to leave on, then I'll miss the end of the semester, and all the schoolwork I've done gets erased. I have to start over. And so if it's okay with you, president of the church, could I go a month later? But here's the awesome thing, is he says in that letter, as he's closing that letter, he says, but if it's not convenient for me to leave, convenient to the church meeting, if it's not convenient for me to leave on my mission after the school semester, I'll go during my semester, and I'll come back and I'll redo it. Doesn't matter, because I'm going to go serve the Lord. Now, what's the most important thing about that letter to me and to my children? Was his handwriting to the prophet. The most important thing is that final paragraph. I will go and do the things the Lord's commanded, even if it's at the expense of my schooling education. And so what a testimony thing that is. That's really cool when my kids run onto that. Let me show you just a couple more things, and we'll jump into some stories and the other things that you might have been expecting in this video. Excuse me. Here it says Nauvoo. See if any of your relatives lived in Nauvoo at the time of Joseph Smith. What's awesome about this is these records used to only be available in Nauvoo. You either had to call up a good sister missionary that was in Nauvoo, give them your ancestors' info, they download all these documents and stories and everything, and then they'd ship it to you on a thumb drive. That was one option, or the other option is you have to go to Nauvoo to get those documents. Well, not anymore. You log in, you click Nauvoo, and now all of your relatives who lived in Nauvoo, there's Grandma Rebecca again, anybody who was in Nauvoo at the time that the saints were there is going to pop up, and then you can go to that see her page button right there in blue in the middle, and all of those documents and all of those records start populating. They weren't married in Nauvoo, but this is Rebecca's husband. They would marry later. And so all of them, Grandma Susan, Grandpa Cannon, they're all here. And with just the click of a button, I've got all of their records, all of their pictures, and it's really you'd spend a lot of time here. Last thing I'll show you on the website is they've now got a link for the Joseph Smith papers. Now, you've heard of the Joseph Smith papers. It's a multi-volume work, thousands and thousands of pages. You can buy individual volumes for like 80 or 90 bucks, or you can log into the Joseph Smith papers online and see everything for free on your computer or laptop or even on your phone. And so it's all accessible for free. But once you tie it into this family search website, you can click on Joseph Smith papers. And now what it's doing is it's looking for all of my relatives that are mentioned in the Joseph Smith paper documents. And so the first one that pops up, William Clayton. You see down at the bottom in the middle, he is mentioned 371 times in the Joseph Smith papers. Now, William Clayton, you may have heard that name. He was a secretary of the prophet, and so he gets a lot of mention in there. He was heavily involved with Joseph in the Nauvoo period. One of the individuals who went to Carthage after the martyrdom to bring documents and books and personal artifacts back to Nauvoo. But some lesser things, James Lake, he's mentioned 2 times. I have no idea who James Lake is, so I click view your relationship, and up at the top left, my first cousin 7 times removed. Well, that's cool. So now I can, oops, it's gone now, but I could have clicked that link, and now I can go to the Joseph Smith papers where Grandpa Lake was mentioned 2 times. And you really start to get to know your ancestors here. And it's quite amazing. There's a lot of fun things here. Compare a face. It takes your picture, and then it scans all the pictures, all the ones that we were just looking at, but all the pictures of all your relatives, and it tells you who you look like. It put me as looking like my dad. Like we had a 43%. You know, it said, okay, here's me and here's my dad, and we look alike 43%. Whatever that means, I don't know. But my son, my 8-year-old son, he's goofing around with it, takes his picture. It pulls up my dad. My dad's in here because he's passed away, but it pulls up my dad, and my son and my dad look alike to 71%. So it's like, holy smokes, you know, now my son, who's never met his grandpa, all of a sudden has this instant connection with his grandpa. And now he's asking me all the time to tell him stories about grandpa. He's thrilled to death to be learning about his ancestors. So it comes the question that I started here with. Why is it that the Lord has done so much in preserving a record so that you and I and everybody else can learn about these pioneers? There's got to be some benefit to it other than just being pretty cool and awesome, I would think.
For more videos about our church history, make sure to subscribe.